My name is Samuel McKenna, and for 15 years I've been a dead man walking. The Apache attack that took my wife Mary and my boy little Joe in 1854 didn't just kill them. It killed everything inside me that was worth living for. I kept breathing, kept working my land, kept going through the motions of life, but I was nothing more than a ghost haunting my own existence. The morning of September 12, 1869, started like any other in my solitary routine. I rose before dawn, made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, and sat on my porch, watching the Arizona sun paint the desert mountains in shades of gold and crimson. The silence was complete, except for the distant cry of a hawk and the whisper of wind through the saguaro cacti that dotted my property. My ranch, if you could call it that, was a modest spread about 10 miles outside Tucson. I ran a few head of cattle, maintained a small vegetable garden, and kept to myself. The townspeople had long ago stopped trying to draw me into their social circles. They knew about my tragedy, respected my grief, and left me alone with my ghosts. I was checking the fence line near my well when I saw her. At first I thought it was just another mirage. The desert heat can play tricks on a man's eyes, but as I moved closer, I realized it was real. A young Apache woman, heavily pregnant, was crouched behind a cluster of barrel cacti near my water source. She was trying to drink from the overflow trough, her movements careful and desperate. My first instinct was to reach for the rifle I always carried. 15 years of hatred and mistrust don't die easily. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way she cradled her swollen belly, or the exhaustion evident in every line of her body. This wasn't a warrior come to steal or kill. This was a woman in desperate need. She must have sensed my presence because she looked up suddenly, her dark eyes meeting mine across the dusty ground. Fear flickered in her gaze, but she didn't run. She couldn't run, not in her condition. "Easy there," I said, raising my hands to show I meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you." She studied me carefully, as if trying to determine whether I was telling the truth. When she spoke, her English was accented but clear. "I need water, please." "How long since you've had a proper drink?" I asked, stepping closer slowly. 2 days, maybe 3. Her voice was hoarse, and I could see the signs of dehydration in her face. "And food?" "Longer." I looked at her more closely. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with the high cheekbones and strong features common to Apache women. Her hair was braided simply, and her dress was a mixture of traditional Apache clothing and pieces that looked like they'd been scavenged from abandoned homesteads. But it was her eyes that caught my attention. They held a depth of sorrow that I recognized all too well. "What's your name?" I asked. "Nalnish," she replied, her hand moving protectively over her belly. "Nalnish," I repeated, trying to pronounce it correctly. "That's Apache?" "Yes. It means she works." "When's the baby due?" "Soon. Very soon." I stood there for a long moment, wrestling with emotions I hadn't felt in years. This woman represented everything I'd learned to hate, everything that had destroyed my family, but she was also a human being in desperate need, carrying a child who would die if I turned away. "Can you walk?" I asked finally. "Yes, I think so." "Then come with me. You need proper water, food, and rest." "Why?" The question was simple, but it carried the weight of a lifetime's worth of mistrust between our peoples. "Because," I said, surprised by my own words, "because it's the right thing to do." I helped her to her feet, noting how she winced with each movement. The baby was sitting low, and I could see she was in the final stages of pregnancy. We walked slowly toward my house, her hand resting lightly on my arm for support. "Are you alone?" I asked as we reached the porch. "Yes. My husband. He died 3 months ago, fighting soldiers." "I'm sorry." She looked at me with surprise. "You're sorry? For the death of an Apache warrior?" "I'm sorry for your loss," I clarified. "No woman should have to face bringing a child into the world alone." "And you? Are you alone?" "Yes. My wife and son died 15 years ago." "I'm sorry too." "Thank you." Inside my house, I helped her to a chair at my kitchen table. The place hadn't seen a woman's touch since Mary died, and I was suddenly aware of how sparse and cold it must seem. I poured her a glass of water and watched as she drank it carefully, not too fast, despite her obvious thirst. "When did you last eat?" I asked, moving to my pantry. "Yesterday morning. Some berries I found." I prepared a simple meal: beans, cornbread, and some dried meat. As she ate, I studied her face in the lamplight. There was something familiar about her features, but I couldn't place it. "Nalnish," I said. "What's your family name? Your clan?" "Chiricahua," she replied, "from the band of Neche." The name hit me like a physical blow. Neche's band was the same group that had attacked my family's wagon train 15 years ago. This woman might be connected to the very people who had destroyed my life. "You know that name," she observed, watching my reaction. "Yes, I know it." "It troubles you." "It does." "Why?" I was quiet for a long moment, debating whether to tell her the truth. Finally, I decided she deserved to know. 15 years ago, warriors from Nature's band attacked a wagon train. My wife and 6-year-old son were killed. She set down her spoon and stared at me. "You are the man from the wagon train? You know about it?" "Everyone knows about it. It was a terrible day. Many regrets." "Regrets?" "Yes. The warriors who attacked. They were young, angry. They had just lost family members to soldiers. They saw your wagon train and—" She paused, as if searching for the right words. "They did not think. They just acted from pain. They murdered innocent people. Yes, and it was wrong. But they were not thinking clearly. They were hurting like you are hurting now. That doesn't excuse what they did." "No, it doesn't. But maybe it explains it?" I didn't respond immediately. The conversation was stirring up emotions I'd buried deep, and I wasn't sure I was ready to deal with them. "The woman who died," Nalnish said quietly. "What was her name?" "Mary. Mary McKenna. And your son, Joseph. But we called him Little Joe. Tell me about them." "Why?" "Because I want to understand what was lost. I want to honor their memory. For the first time in 15 years, I found myself talking about my family. I told her about Mary's laugh, about how she could make the finest apple pie west of the Mississippi. I talked about Little Joe's curious nature, how he was always asking questions about everything he saw. I shared memories I'd kept locked away, and with each story, I felt a strange kind of relief. "They sound like wonderful people," Nalnish said when I finished. They were everything to me. And now you live alone, carrying their memory." "Yes." "It must be very heavy." "It is." She shifted in her chair, and I saw her wince again. "Are you in pain?" "The baby is restless, I think. I think he wants to come soon." "He?" "It feels like a boy. Strong kicks, like a warrior." "Do you have somewhere to go? People who can help you when the time comes?" "No. My husband's family was killed by soldiers. My own family." She paused. "My own family cast me out when I married outside our immediate clan. So you're alone, just like me?" "Yes, just like you." We sat in silence for a moment. Two people from different worlds, united by loss and loneliness. "Samuel," she said, using my name for the first time, "may I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why did you help me, after what happened to your family?" I thought about the question carefully. "I don't know. Maybe because I've lived with hate for so long, I've forgotten what it feels like to do something good." "And how does it feel?" "Strange, but not bad." "Samuel?" "Yes?" "I need to tell you something about the attack on your family." "What about it?" "I was there." The words hit me like a lightning bolt. "You were there?" "Yes, I was 16 years old, traveling with my uncle's band. I saw the attack." "You saw my family die?" "Yes, and I saw something else, something that might change how you feel about what happened." "What do you mean?" "I mean there's more to the story than you know. Things that were never spoken of, never shared." "Tell me. Are you sure you want to know?" "Some truths are harder to bear than lies." I stared at her, my heart pounding. After 15 years of carrying this burden, was I finally going to learn the whole truth? "Yes," I said. "I need to know." Then I will tell you. But first you must promise me something. What? Promise me that whatever I tell you, you will not turn me away, my baby. He will come soon, and I have nowhere else to go. I promise. And promise me that you will listen to everything before you judge. I promise. She took a deep breath, her hand moving to her belly as if seeking strength from the child within. Samuel McKenna, she said, I think the baby I'm carrying might be your grandson. The world stopped. Everything went silent except for the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. What did you say? I said, I think this baby might be your grandson. That's impossible. My son died 15 years ago. He was 6 years old. Your son didn't die in the attack, Samuel. He was taken. Taken? Yes. And I think he grew up to become my husband. The room began to spin. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady myself as the implications of her words sank in. You're saying my son, little Joe, lived. I'm saying the man I married had green eyes like yours, and a small scar on his left hand from a childhood accident. He spoke sometimes of dreams about a woman with golden hair who sang to him, and a man with rough hands who taught him to whittle. Mary had golden hair. I had taught Joe to whittle. But how is that possible? Because, she said, tears starting to form in her eyes, because during the attack, one of the young warriors saw your son hiding under the wagon. Instead of killing him, he took him back to the camp. He was raised as Apache, given an Apache name, and grew up to be a warrior. What was his name? Goyathle. But he also remembered another name, a name from before. He called himself Joe when we were alone. I felt like I was drowning. 15 years of grief, 15 years of hate, 15 years of believing my son was dead. And now this woman was telling me he had lived, grown up, become a man, and died as an Apache warrior. If this is true, I said, my voice barely a whisper, then I'm the wife of the son you thought you had lost. And this baby, she placed both hands on her belly, this baby is your blood, Samuel, your family, your future. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Everything I had believed about my life, my loss, my purpose, was crumbling and reforming in the space of a few words. Prove it, I said finally. How? Show me something. Tell me something only Joe would know. She reached into a small bag she carried and pulled out a small wooden object. It was a carved horse, roughly made but recognizable. I had carved it for Joe's 5th birthday. He carried this with him always, she said, placing it on the table between us. He said it was made by his first father, the one who lived in his dreams. I picked up the wooden horse with trembling hands. It was definitely my work. I could see the knife marks where I'd carved the mane, the slightly uneven legs that had frustrated me so much. He remembered you, she said softly. He remembered your voice, your hands, your kindness. He named this horse Thunder, and he told me it was the most precious thing he owned. Joe named it Thunder? Yes. He said you told him stories about a great horse named Thunder who could run faster than the wind. I had told him those stories. Every night before bed I would tell Joe about Thunder and his adventures. Dear God, I whispered, it's true, it's all true. Samuel, I know this is hard to understand. Hard to understand? I stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. I've spent 15 years grieving for a son who was alive. 15 years hating the people who raised him. 15 years living like a dead man, when I might have been. You might have been what? A father, a grandfather, a man with a purpose. You still can be. How? Joe is dead, you said so yourself. But his child isn't. This baby, he carries your son's blood, your blood. He's your chance to have family again. But he's Apache. He's both, Apache and Irish, your grandson and my son, a bridge between two worlds. I turned back to face her. Why didn't Joe ever try to find me? He wanted to, but he was told you were dead. The warriors who took him said they saw you die in the attack. But I didn't die. No, you survived, just like he survived. But neither of you knew the other was alive. What was he like as a man? He was kind, gentle. He hated violence even though he was a skilled warrior. He only fought when he had to protect his people. He was always trying to find peaceful solutions. That sounds like Joe. Even as a boy, he hated to see anyone hurt. He would have been so happy to know you lived. He talked about you often, wondering if you were proud of the man he'd become. Was he happy? With me? Yes, but he carried sadness too. He felt torn between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. And now you're in the same position. Yes, cast out by my own people, feared by yours, carrying a child who will face the same struggles. Not if I can help it. What do you mean? I mean this child, my grandson, will have a home. He'll have family. He'll have someone who loves him no matter what. You would do that? Accept an Apache child as your grandson? I would accept my son's child as my grandson. The rest, we'll figure out the rest. She began to cry then, tears of relief and exhaustion and hope. I moved to her side and awkwardly put my hand on her shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving him a chance. Thank you for giving me a chance to be a grandfather." "Samuel?" "Yes?" I think the baby is coming. Soon." I looked at her and saw the signs I'd missed before, the way she was breathing, the tension in her body, the slight panic in her eyes. "How soon?" "Very soon. Maybe tonight. We need to get you to town, to the doctor." "No, there's no time. And besides," she gripped my arm, "I want my son to be born here, in his grandfather's house, where he belongs. But I don't know anything about delivering babies. Then we'll learn together, just like we're learning to be family." As if summoned by her words, she suddenly doubled over with a contraction. The baby was coming, ready or not. And I, who had been a dead man walking for 15 years, was about to become a grandfather. Chapter 2. The contraction lasted nearly 30 seconds, and I watched Nalnish breathe through it with a composure that amazed me. When it passed, she looked up at me with eyes that held both pain and determination. "How far apart are they?" I asked, trying to remember what Mary had told me about little Joe's birth. "Maybe 10 minutes, getting closer. We need to prepare." "Tell me what to do." "First, we need clean blankets, hot water and sharp knife. Then we need to make a place for the baby to be born." I gathered what she needed, my hands shaking as I built up the fire and set water to boil. My bedroom seemed the most appropriate place. It was clean, had good light from the window, and the bed was sturdy. "Samuel," Nalnish said, as I helped her to the room, "I need to tell you more about Joe, about how he died." "Right now?" "Yes, before the baby comes. In case—" She paused as another contraction began. When it passed, she continued, "In case something happens to me." "Nothing's going to happen to you. You don't know that. Birth is dangerous, especially alone." "You're not alone. I'm here. I know. But I need to tell you about Joe's death, about what really happened." I helped her onto the bed, propping her up with pillows. "All right. Tell me." 3 months ago, there was a raid on an Apache camp. Soldiers came at dawn, killed many people. Joe was trying to protect the women and children when he was shot. By soldiers. Yes, but that's not the important part. The important part is what he did as he was dying. What did he do? He made me promise to find you. He said if anything happened to him, I should find the white man with green eyes who lived alone near Tucson. He said you would help me because you were a good man. He said that? Yes. He said his first father was the kindest man he'd ever known, and that if I was ever in trouble, I should find you. But how did he know I was alive? You said he was told I died. He never believed it. He said he would have felt it if you were dead, because part of him would have died too. So he was looking for me? Yes, for years. Every time he went near white settlements, he would ask questions. He was trying to find Samuel McKenna, the Irish man who carved horses. And he never found me? He found out about a Samuel McKenna who lived alone outside Tucson. He was planning to come see you after our baby was born. So we might have been reunited. Yes, if the soldiers hadn't come. The irony was crushing. For 15 years, we had both been alive, both been looking for each other, and we had missed each other by mere months. "There's something else," Nalnish said, gripping my hand as another contraction began. "Something he wanted you to know." "What?" "He said he forgave you." "Forgave me for what?" "For not finding him, for not saving him. He said he knew you probably blamed yourself for what happened to your family." "I did blame myself. I still do." "He said that was foolish. He said you fought as hard as you could, but sometimes bad things happen to good people. He said the important thing was that you both survived, and that meant something." "What did it mean?" "He said it meant you were both meant to live for something more, for some greater purpose." "And what purpose is that?" "This baby, your grandson, he's the purpose." Another contraction came, stronger this time. When it passed, I could see exhaustion beginning to set in. "Samuel," she said weakly, "I need to ask you something. Anything. If I don't survive this birth, you will. But if I don't, will you raise the baby? Will you teach him about his father, about both sides of his heritage?" "Yes, I promise." "Will you tell him that his mother loved him, that she wanted him to be proud of who he is?" "Yes." "And will you tell him that his father was a good man, that he fought for what was right, even when it was hard?" "I will tell him everything." "Good. Now help me. I think he's coming." The next few hours were unlike anything I'd experienced. Nalnish labored with a strength and courage that humbled me, and I did my best to help, following her instructions and trying to remember everything Mary had told me about Joe's birth. As the sun began to set, the contractions became more frequent and intense. Nalnish was exhausted, but she never gave up, never stopped fighting for her child. "I can see the head," I told her as the final stage began. "Just a little more." "I can't," she gasped. "I'm too tired." "Yes, you can. Joe is counting on you. This baby is counting on you. Talk to me about him, about Joe as a boy. Help me remember why I'm fighting." So I talked. I told her about Joe's first steps, his first words, his love of animals, and his fascination with the stars. I told her about his laughter, his questions, his dreams of becoming a horse trainer like his grandfather back in Ireland. "He would have been so proud of you," I said as she pushed through another contraction, "so proud of your strength, your courage. And he would have been so proud of this baby," she replied, "so proud to have you as a grandfather." "Almost there," I said, supporting the baby's head. One more push. With a final tremendous effort, Nalnish brought her son into the world. The baby was small but healthy, with a strong cry that filled the room. I cleaned him off and wrapped him in a clean blanket, then placed him in his mother's arms. "He's beautiful," I said, tears streaming down my face. "He's perfect." "He has your eyes," Nalnish observed, smiling despite her exhaustion. "Green eyes, like his grandfather. And his father's chin, that's definitely Joe's chin. What should we call him? What did you and Joe discuss?" "It was a boy. Joe wanted to name him after his father, after you." "Samuel." "Yes, but in Apache the name would be different. It would be Shema, which means my son." "Samuel Shema McKenna," I said, testing the name. "It has a nice ring to it." "He'll be both. Samuel in the white world, Shema in the Apache world, a bridge between both, just like his father." "Just like his father." Adi, as I held my grandson for the first time, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 15 years. Hope. This tiny person represented the future, the continuation of my family line, the possibility of redemption for all the pain and hatred of the past. "Thank you," I whispered to Nalnish. "For what?" "For giving me a reason to live again, for showing me that my son's life had meaning, for bringing me this gift. Thank you for accepting us, for giving us a home. This is your home now, both of you, for as long as you want it. What about the townspeople? What will they say about an Apache woman and her baby living with you?" "They'll say what they want to say, but anyone who has a problem with my family will have to deal with me." "Your family?" "Yes. You're my daughter-in-law. This baby is my grandson. That makes you family, even though I'm Apache. You're Joe's wife. You're the mother of his child, your family." She smiled, and for the first time since I'd found her, she looked truly at peace. "Samuel." "Yes? I'm scared." "About what?" "About being a mother, about raising a child who will face challenges because of who he is. Every parent is scared. I was terrified when Joe was born. I didn't know how to be a father. But you learned." "Yes, and you'll learn too. We'll learn together." "Will you teach him about his white heritage?" "Yes, and you'll teach him about his Apache heritage. He'll be stronger for knowing both. And if people reject him, then we'll find people who won't. The world is changing, Nalnish. Maybe by the time he's grown, things will be different." "Do you really believe that?" "I have to believe it, because if I don't have hope for his future, what's the point of any of this?" "You're right. We have to have hope." "Samuel." "Yes?" "Thank you for calling me by my name. Most white people won't even try to pronounce it. It's a beautiful name." "What does it mean exactly?" "It means she works, but it also means she provides. My mother gave it to me because she said I would bring good things to my family. She was right. You've brought the best thing possible. New life, new hope, new family. And you've given me the same thing. A place to belong, a purpose, a future. We've given each other what we both needed most." "Yes, a family." As night fell, I sat in the chair beside the bed, watching Nalnish sleep with the baby in her arms. The sight filled me with emotions I'd forgotten I could feel: love, protectiveness, hope, joy. But it also raised questions I wasn't sure how to answer. How would we live here together? What would the townspeople say? What about the military patrols that came through looking for Apache renegades? A knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. I looked out the window and saw Sheriff Tom Bradley dismounting from his horse. "Samuel," he called. "You in there? I need to talk to you." I kissed Nalnish's forehead and whispered, "Stay quiet, I'll handle this." I opened the door to find Tom looking serious and concerned. "Tom, what brings you out here so late?" "Got a report from a cavalry patrol. They're tracking a pregnant Apache woman who escaped from a raid 3 days ago, said she was heading this direction." "Apache woman?" "Yes, considered armed and dangerous. They want to question her about the location of other renegades." "I haven't seen anyone. Mind if I look around, just to be sure?" "Tom, you've known me for 10 years. If I said I haven't seen anyone, I haven't seen anyone." "I know, Samuel, but the cavalry captain is pretty insistent. Says this woman might have information about planned attacks. What would happen to her if she were found?" "She'd be taken to the reservation, questioned. If she's connected to any raids, she'd be held for trial. And if she's pregnant? Makes no difference to the army. They say pregnant Apache women can be just as dangerous as the men. That's ridiculous." "Maybe, but that's their position." I looked at my old friend, weighing my options. Tom was a good man, but he was also the law. If he found Nalnish and the baby, he'd have no choice but to turn them over to the cavalry. "Tom," I said carefully, "if there were a pregnant Apache woman in the area, and if she wasn't dangerous, what would you do?" "Samuel, are you asking me hypothetically?" "I'm asking you as a friend. As a friend, I'd say that sometimes the law and justice aren't the same thing. And sometimes a man has to choose between following orders and doing what's right. And what would you choose?" "I'd choose to not find what I wasn't really looking for, if you understand my meaning." "I understand." "Good. Then I'll report that I checked your property thoroughly and found no sign of any Apache woman. Case closed." "Thank you, Tom." "Don't thank me yet. The cavalry captain is persistent. He might come back with more men. We'll deal with that when it happens." I meant I'll deal with it when it happens." "Samuel, whatever you're involved in, be careful. I can't protect you if you're caught harboring fugitives." "I understand." "Good. Now I'm going to ride back to town and report that I found nothing. You have a good evening." "You too, Tom." After he left, I returned to the bedroom where Nalnish was awake, having heard the entire conversation. "He knows I'm here," she said. "Yes, but he's going to protect us." "Why?" Because he's a good man, and because he knows that sometimes the law is wrong. What about the cavalry captain? We'll figure something out. Samuel, maybe I should leave. Take the baby and go somewhere else. No, this is your home now. We'll find a way to make it work. But if they find me here, you'll be in trouble too. Then they won't find you here. What do you mean? I mean we need to make this legal. We need to make it so you have a right to be here. How? There might be a way, but it would require a big change for both of us. What kind of change? The kind that would make you my legal family, not just Joe's wife, but my family in the eyes of the law. I don't understand. What I'm saying is, I paused, knowing that what I was about to propose would change everything. What I'm saying is that maybe we should get married. The words hung in the air between us, like a bridge spanning a chasm. Everything, our future, our safety, our family, depended on how she responded. Married? She whispered. Yes, it would give you legal protection, make the baby my legal grandson, give us both a chance at a real future. But Samuel, we barely know each other. We know the most important things. We know we care about each other. We know we want to protect this baby. We know we both need family. Is that enough? It's more than most marriages start with. And you would do this, marry an Apache woman? I would marry the mother of my grandson, the woman who brought my son's child into the world, the woman who gave me a reason to live again. What about love? What about it? Do you love me? I care about you. I respect you. I want to protect you. Love might come in time. And if it doesn't, then we'll be friends, partners, family. That's not a bad foundation for a marriage. But what would people say? They'll say what they want to say, but they'll also see that we're legally married, that the baby is legitimate, that we're a proper family. And the cavalry? They can't touch the legal wife of a white citizen. It would cause too much political trouble. You've thought this through. I've thought about keeping you and the baby safe. Everything else is details. Samuel, yes? If we do this, I want you to know that I would try to be a good wife, not just for protection, but because you deserve happiness. And I would try to be a good husband, not just for appearances, but because you deserve to be cherished. When would we do this? As soon as possible. Tomorrow, if Father O'Sullivan will perform the ceremony. And after. After. We raise this baby together. We build a life together. We see what the future holds. Do you think it could work? I think we have a better chance together than apart. Then yes, I'll marry you. Are you sure? I'm sure. For the baby's sake, for our safety, and because I think Joe would approve. He would approve? Yes. He always said you were the kind of man who did the right thing even when it was hard. And this is the right thing? Yes, this is the right thing. I leaned down and kissed her forehead gently. Then tomorrow we become a family, legally and officially. Samuel? Yes? What will you tell people about how we met? The truth, that I found you in need, helped you, and fell in love with your courage and strength. And the baby is my grandson. That's all anyone needs to know. And if they ask about his father was a good man who died protecting his family. That's the truth. Yes, it is. As I prepared to sleep in the chair beside the bed, I realized that in less than 24 hours, my entire life had changed. I had gone from being a bitter, lonely old man to being a husband and grandfather. But looking at Nalnish holding little Samuel, I knew I had made the right choice. We were family now, bound not just by blood but by love, hope, and the shared commitment to building a better future. Tomorrow, we would make it official. Tonight, we were already home. Chapter 3. The wedding took place the next morning at dawn, in the small church Father O'Sullivan had built with his own hands on the outskirts of Tucson. The Irish priest had known me since I'd arrived in Arizona territory, and when I explained the situation, he agreed to perform the ceremony without question. Samuel McKenna, he said in his thick brogue, in all my years, I've never seen a man look more at peace than you do this morning. I feel it, Father, for the first time in 15 years. I feel at peace. And the lass? Is she ready for this? I looked at Nalnish, who was holding baby Samuel and wearing a simple blue dress that had belonged to Mary. I had offered it to her the night before, and she had accepted it with tears in her eyes. She's ready, I said. We both are. The ceremony was simple and private. Father O'Sullivan spoke about love, commitment, and the sacred nature of family. When he asked if I took Nalnish to be my wife, I looked into her dark eyes and said, I do, with more conviction than I'd felt about anything in years. When he asked if she took me to be her husband, she replied, I do, in a voice that was steady and sure. By the power vested in me by God and the territory of Arizona, Father O'Sullivan proclaimed, I now pronounce you husband and wife. I kissed her cheek gently, a chaste kiss that spoke of respect and new beginnings rather than passion. The baby cooed in her arms, as if approving of the union. Now then, Father O'Sullivan said, producing a document, let's make this official. I'll need to record the marriage and the baby's birth. What name should we use for the baby? I asked Nalnish. Samuel Joseph McKenna, she said without hesitation, after his grandfather and his father, and his mother's name. Nalnish McKenna, she said, testing the sound of her new name. It sounds strange, but good. It sounds perfect, I told her. We signed the documents, and Father O'Sullivan gave us copies. We were now legally married, and little Samuel was now officially my grandson in the eyes of the law. There's one more thing, Father O'Sullivan said. I took the liberty of preparing a baptismal certificate as well, in case anyone questions the child's legitimacy. You've thought of everything, I said, grateful for his foresight. I've been dealing with complicated situations on the frontier for 30 years, he replied. I've learned that sometimes paperwork is the best protection against prejudice. On the way back to the ranch, we stopped at the general store to buy supplies. The storekeeper, Mrs. Henderson, looked surprised to see me with a woman and baby. Why, Samuel McKenna, she said. I didn't know you were married. Just this morning, I replied, putting my arm around Nalnish's shoulders. Mrs. Henderson, I'd like you to meet my wife, Nalnish, and our grandson, Samuel. Mrs. Henderson studied Nalnish carefully, clearly noting her Apache features. Your wife is Indian? My wife is my wife, I said firmly, and this is our grandson. I see. Well, congratulations, I suppose. Thank you, we'll need supplies for the baby, diapers, milk, whatever else you have. Of course, I'll get what you need. As Mrs. Henderson gathered the supplies, I could see her whispering to other customers. Word would spread quickly through town, and I knew we'd face more questions and scrutiny in the days to come. Are you prepared for this? I asked Nalnish quietly. I'm prepared for anything, as long as we're together, she replied. Good, because I suspect we're going to face some challenges. We'll face them together, as a family. That afternoon, as predicted, we had visitors. Sheriff Bradley arrived with Dr. Morrison, the town's physician, and Father O'Sullivan. Samuel, Sheriff Bradley said, I heard about your marriage. Congratulations. Thank you, Tom. I also heard there might be questions about the baby's legitimacy. The cavalry captain has been asking around. What kind of questions? Questions about whether the baby is really your grandson, or whether you're just providing cover for an Apache woman and her child. The baby is my grandson, I said firmly. I have the documents to prove it. I know you do, but the captain is suspicious. He's asking for proof that your son was actually taken in an Apache raid and raised by the tribe. What kind of proof? Witnesses, records, something that shows your son survived and grew up to marry this woman. I looked at Nalnish, who nodded slightly. We had anticipated this moment. Dr. Morrison, I said, you delivered my son 15 years ago. You have the medical records. Yes, I do. Little Joseph McKenna, born June 15th, 1854. And you were here when the Apache attacked our wagon train. I was. I treated the survivors. Did you see my son's body? No, we never found him. We assumed he was taken by the Apache. Doctor Morrison, Nalnish said, speaking for the first time, I can give you proof that Joe survived and grew up Apache. What kind of proof? She reached into her bag and pulled out a small cloth bundle. Inside was a collection of items: the wooden horse I had carved, a lock of Mary's hair, and a small silver locket that had belonged to my mother. He kept these things always, she said. He said they were from his first life, before he became Apache. Dr. Morrison examined the items carefully. I remember this locket. Your mother wore it to church every Sunday. And the horse. You carved it for Joe's 5th birthday. I remember because you asked me about the safety of the paint you used. So you believe Joe survived? I believe these items prove he survived. And if he survived, grew up, and married this woman, then this baby is indeed your grandson. That's all I need to hear, Sheriff Bradley said. I'll report to the cavalry captain that the baby's legitimacy has been verified by the town doctor. And I'll add my testimony, Father O'Sullivan added. I performed the marriage ceremony and recorded the birth. Everything is legal and proper. After they left, Nalnish and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the desert sky in brilliant colors. Do you think they believed us? She asked. I think they wanted to believe us. Sometimes that's enough. And if the cavalry captain keeps pushing, then we'll deal with it. But I think we've bought ourselves some time. Samuel? Yes? I want to tell you something else about Joe, something that might help you understand him better. What is it? He wasn't just a warrior. He was a peacemaker. He spent his last years trying to prevent conflicts between Apache and white settlers. Like what I tried to do 15 years ago? Yes, exactly like that. He believed that violence only created more violence, and that the only way to break the cycle was through understanding and compassion. He sounds like he became a good man. He was, and he would be proud of what we're doing now. What are we doing now? We're proving that Apache and white people can live together peacefully, that we can be family, that love is stronger than hatred. You think that's what this is about? I think that's exactly what this is about. We're not just raising a baby, Samuel. We're raising hope for the future. A future where Apache and white children can grow up together. A future where all children can grow up together, regardless of their background. That's a beautiful dream. It doesn't have to be just a dream. It can be reality if we make it so. How? By raising Samuel to be proud of both sides of his heritage, by teaching him that his Apache grandfather was a hero and his white grandfather is a hero too, by showing him that love transcends race. And if the world isn't ready for that message, then we'll make it ready, one person at a time, one family at a time. You have a lot of faith in people. I have faith in you, and you have faith in me. That's how it starts. Nalnish, yes? I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. What is it? Are you happy? Really happy? Or are you just making the best of a difficult situation? She was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the desert landscape that stretched endlessly in all directions. When I was hiding behind those cacti waiting to die, I had lost everything, she said finally. My family, my husband, my hope. I thought my baby would be born into a world that didn't want him. And now I have a home. I have a husband who treats me with respect and kindness. I have a future for my child, and I have something I never expected to have again. What's that? Hope. Real hope. Not just for survival, but for happiness. And that's enough? It's more than enough. It's everything. I'm glad, because I need you to know that this isn't just about protection or convenience for me either. Leisha, what is it about? It's about redemption. For 15 years I've been a bitter, angry man. I've hated an entire people because of what a few did to my family. But you've shown me that hatred doesn't heal wounds. It just creates more wounds. And now I'm learning to love again. Not just you, but life itself. I'm learning to see possibilities instead of just losses. So we're both healing. Yes, we're both healing. Samuel? Yes? I think I'm falling in love with you. Really? Yes. Not because you saved me or because you married me or because you're protecting my child, but because of who you are. Because of your kindness, your strength, your willingness to change. I'm falling in love with you too, with your courage, your wisdom, your faith in the future. So this marriage, it's becoming real. It's been real from the moment we said I do. Now it's just becoming deeper. Good, because I want this to work. Not just for Samuel's sake, but for ours. It will work. We'll make it work. How can you be so sure? Because we both want it to work. Because we both believe in family. Because we both know that love is stronger than fear. And if people try to tear us apart, then we'll stand together. As husband and wife, as family. Promise? I promise. Do you promise? I promise. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, I realized that this was exactly where I was meant to be. Not as a bitter old man living in the past, but as a husband and grandfather building a future. Samuel? Nalnish said softly. Yes? Thank you for calling me to talk that first day. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for trusting me with your story. And thank you for giving me a reason to believe in tomorrow. We're going to be happy, aren't we? We're going to be very happy. All three of us, and maybe more if we're blessed. More. More children, more family, more love. I would like that. So would I. As we sat there in the peaceful evening with baby Samuel sleeping in his mother's arms, I understood something I had never understood before. That healing doesn't come from forgetting the past, but from choosing to build a better future. My son Joe had been taken from me, but he had been given a good life. He had become a man I could be proud of, and he had loved a woman worthy of that love. Now their child would grow up knowing both sides of his heritage, raised by parents who had learned that love transcends all boundaries. It wasn't the life I had planned, but it was the life I was meant to have. And for the first time in 15 years, I was truly, completely happy. The past was healed, the future was bright, and the present was perfect. We were family, we were home, we were whole. Déjanos en los comentarios qué te pareció esta historia y suscríbete al canal para más aventuras del Viejo Oeste que tocarán tu corazón.